So with Wuthering Waves not yet released, I need to make videos about something else. And so let's talk about 5 more upcoming gacha games I am super excited for, starting with Girls Frontline 2. So Girls Frontline 2 is an XCOM style tactical RPG which has you face waves of enemies where you have to strategically use your environment and skills to take them down, making sure not to die. Now it looks absolutely amazing. It's got great graphics, tight gameplay, and overall a great aesthetic. Now, I have not played Girls Frontline 1, but I have played XCOM, and I am a big fan. I think the high difficulty and strategic gameplay is something that I really enjoy. It's probably why I enjoy games like Arknights and like Path to Nowhere, and so when I heard it was coming to the gacha genre, I knew I had to give it a try. And while there are many positives to this game, we should also talk about its negatives. So while the developers have said they plan to get a global release for the game as soon as possible, we must look at how the game is doing in China, and well, that's where the problems lie. See, I won't go into too much detail, but there was a lot of drama, and it has affected the game quite a bit. So if we take a look at this graph, which shows the revenue of the game, we can see that it has a constant drop in revenue. Now this is not good. While some drops in revenue is to be expected with the gacha genre, especially between banners, this constant downslide in revenue is not good. And so while the developers have said that this will get a global release, many are not sure because of this revenue, especially as when a gacha game doesn't do too well in their home country, it is unlikely they will release globally, but one can still hope. But next on the list we have 7 Deadly Sins Origin. So this game, wow, this game looks amazing. Aesthetically wise, it is really nice, it's really vibrant. So 7 Deadly Sins Origin is a 3D open world gacha game like Genshin, but with the 7 Deadly Sins IP. Now this looks really good. It's got all the characters from 7 Deadly Sins in an open world environment. Now in terms of the gameplay, the combat is similar to Genshin as opposed to something like Wuthering Waves in that you have normal attacks, skills, ultimates, and it's a bit more slow paced. Now alongside the familiar 7 Deadly Sins characters, it also has weapons that you can use, equipment that may be farmable, not too sure. It features multiplayer, which Genshin also does, but 7 Deadly Sins, at least from the trailers, definitely seems to be emphasizing this multiplayer aspect. Now this isn't the first 7 Deadly Sins we have gotten. The first was 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross, which was a game I played a ton of. It was really fun with a card system like Reverse 999. It also had a PvP mode, which I played a ton of. In fact, it was one of my favorite parts of the game. Again, there were some problems with it, namely the monetization was extremely bad, especially with the power creep in that game. Having a more OP unit every month or so was really bad, and the fact that the costumes in the game were insanely expensive. But now this is mainly due to the developer, Netmarble, that doesn't have the best of reputations, not only because of their previous 7 Deadly Sins game, but also a Ni no Kuni game that had NFTs. So yeah, there's definitely some concern about this game and whether or not it will live up to the hype. However, at the moment it looks good and definitely a game you should try. Next, we have a game called Unending Dawn. Now, this game doesn't have too much information out there. We only have a couple of trailers, but from the trailers alone, it looks pretty good. So it is, you guessed it, another open world gacha game. Man, there's a ton coming out. I wonder why. So Unending Dawn seems to be going in a slightly different direction to the previous ones, in that Genshin was heavily focused on skills and ultimates and elements, and combining these together to deal huge amounts of damage. Wuthering Waves was more into that fast-paced combat, reminiscent of something like Devil May Cry, and now Unending Dawn seems to be taking a lot of inspiration from games like Dark Souls and Sekiro, with its grand boss battles that will require you to not only dodge the attacks but to block them, learn the boss's moves and enemies, and make sure you don't get hit. As well as the fact that the characters seem to have these little red crystal things that will restore their HP, kinda like Dark Souls. Now, there isn't too much information about this game as I said, but overall it looks to be really nice. Dark Souls, which this game seems to be taking inspiration from, is known for its high difficulty. Now this could be good for the game to go for a market that Genshin cannot cater to at the moment, but this hardcore market is also a lot smaller than the casual market, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with this, but overall I'm very excited. But now we reach the 4th game on this list, Duet Night Abyss. Now this is a game that is getting a lot of hype for its amazing gameplay that plays a lot like Warframe. A lot like Warframe. Maybe too much like Warframe as some people say, with not only its movement, which looks absolutely amazing, but probably the best movement I've seen in a gacha game thus far, with the ability to jump, to flip in the air, to slide. It looks so much fun just to move around the map. All that good stuff. But the big thing that has caught my eye and many eyes is its combat. It's fast, it's fluid, and looks really good. You're armed with both a primary weapon and a ranged weapon, and you can freely switch between them, as well as the fact that you have 2 active skills you can use, 1 passive skill, and all of this combined with its movement makes it a lot of fun to play. And it's pretty crazy they can make this level of gameplay for a mobile gacha game. The customization also looks really interesting, with you being able to use what they call demon wedges that will give passive stats in order to customize a character to your liking. Each character also has their unique gameplay and playstyle, which makes it so much fun to play, as well as mix and matching the different demon wedges. It's really good, and it only has had a technical test, so it's very early on in its development cycle, which means there's a lot they can improve and change, and so hopefully it comes out with a beta or alpha soon so I can give it a try. Now, this game has been met with some criticism, with some saying that it is a complete copy of Warframe due to its gameplay, its movement, its characters. Well, it's everything, but whatever the case may be, it looks very good and I'll definitely give it a go when it comes out. Finally, we have the game that I am most excited for on this list, but one I'm not too sure it will receive a global release. But that game is Persona 5 The Phantom X. Now, Persona 5 is one of the best games ever that I played a ton of, with its turn-based gameplay, amazing soundtrack, and the sort of slice of life social gameplay it has. And Persona 5 The Phantom X is looking to replicate that gameplay in gacha form. Now, not only is the gameplay looking as good as ever with its turn-based dungeon crawling gameplay, its soundtrack is good as well, which features songs from Lin, who did the famous songs from Persona 5, as well as an emphasis on the story and social elements, with it featuring an entire rhythm mini-game in it. Now, the gacha looks similar to Genshin in that 80 pulls is hard pity for the different characters. It also features a weapon banner that is slightly cheaper than the character banner, and of course beginner banners that guarantee an SSR character. Now, this game has in fact been released in both China and Korea, and has been met with very good reviews, with many people praising its story, gameplay, and the amount of content it has at launch. The revenue, according to this graph, is also pretty high, reaching the 8-figure mark. This also comes at a good time, as Honkai Star Rail showed the gacha community that a turn-based gacha game could do extremely well, and so Persona, which is a turn-based gacha game that is very flushed out with its mechanics, could do extremely well, especially considering the game hasn't, as of making this video, been released in Japan, which is probably a massive market for it, as well as it being released globally. Overall, it's a game that looks great, especially if you were a fan of turn-based gameplay from Honkai Star Rail. But now, that was the list of 5 more upcoming gacha games that I'm super excited for, just as much as Wuthering Waves, which is coming out very soon, and is a game I'll be making a ton of videos for. Keep an eye out for that. But now, which of these games are you most looking forward to? Leave a comment down in the comment section below, and as always, I will see you next time.